from a different man on the same subject. He says, you know what? We'll talk about that in a minute. Let me read this. Ow! Let me read this. Pope civil orders to Obama, July 4th. 4th of July. Independence Day. Independence Day 2014. What did the Pope say to Obama via attorney? Civil orders, July 4th, 2014, issued to all members of the domestic police forces, U.S. Marshal Service, the Provost Marshal, members of the American Bar Association, and the American Armed Services. Yes, I'm in an empty room looking back and forth like I'm speaking to all those people. I know they're not there, and I'm continuing to do it to make sure I have eye contact with all of those people I cannot see. These organic American states of the Union, known as the United States of America, Major, exercising plenary civil power upon the land hereby appointed General Carter F. Ham to lead and command the Grand Army of the Republic. So, this states General Ham has now been appointed to lead the Grand Army of the Republic. Now, this should start to sound a little Star Wars-ish to you. Now, we have generals, we have U.S. generals, with all kinds of military men. Now, the Pope has just wrote to Obama and to all police forces. He said this: "This is my general, General Ham. He is now the general of the what? The Grand Army of the Republic and its successors under the guidance of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and with their full support." Listen. Should it become necessary to suppress commercial mercenary forces operating under the guise of being federal government agencies, including, but not limited to, the Department of Homeland Security, mercenary group, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, FEMA, mercenary group under the guise of a U.S. institution, the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, militant group, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, DEA, mercenary forces, a militant group under the guise as a U.S. institution. General Ham shall assume immediate command and control of all armed forces owed to the United States of America, Major, stationed in North America and shall join them under his command as the Grand Army of the Republic. All forces of air, land, and sea are to be employed. Any cost or loss suffered as a result of deployment of the Grand Army of the Republic shall be charged as stipulated prior. An act of war.
After college, I settled for the first job I could find. I wanted something rewarding and higher paying.
I wanted to move.
Well, it looks like Alabama and Georgia have both declared a state of emergency after a pipeline spill. Once again, this is probably a story you're not going to pick up on the mainstream or evening news unless you're like right down here in the area. They may be talking about the situation. And the situation is that there has been at least 250,000 gallons of gasoline dumped into these retention ponds that you can see here. These are aerial shots of it. But this has done more damage than many people think already. Why have they declared a state of emergency? Because so much of this raw gasoline is just dumped into these different waterways, as you can see here. Now, they're saying that the pipeline has broke, and also what it's done is caused a massive backup or a disruption of service here of gasoline in this pipeline that flows from Texas all the way up into Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, and they're saying that those are the first markets that are going to be impacted by this disruption in supply.
Police in North Dakota began clearing Native American and environmental resistance from an encampment near an oil pipeline construction site on Thursday, in a move that could escalate tensions in a standoff that has lasted several months. In breaking news, Unicorn Riot, independent media company, has tweeted that officers are beating water protectors with batons and have assaulted Unicorn Riot reporters.
Assaulted, they released their attack dogs on them. And don't think that it's just these people, that it's just the Native Americans out there, because there's videos out there where even our people, us, the Negro, we're actually out there as well. So don't get confused or twisted as just them, or it's just white folks. We're out there as well. I've seen it where the attack dogs were actually running after one of ours. I was running up to one of our little boys, and the Native American people stepped in the way to protect them. I don't know, I was disturbed by it, but whatever.
The police say they're defending private property near the $3.8 billion Dakota Access Pipeline near the town of Cannonball.
See that?
But the tribal resistance notes their land was taken in violations of treaties negotiated in the 19th century. The Morgan County Sheriff said in a statement protesters escalated unlawful behavior this weekend by setting up illegal roadblocks, trespassing onto private property, and establishing an encampment that has forced law enforcement to respond at this time. The nearly 1,200-mile pipeline, which is being built by a group of companies led by Energy Transfer Partners, would offer the fastest and most direct route to bring Bakken shale from North Dakota to the U.S. Gulf.
Shell is owned by the Queen of England.
Supporters say it would be safer and more cost-effective than transporting the oil by road or rail. But the pipeline has drawn the ire of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe and environmental activists who say it threatens...
And it's not just them. There's actually 400 tribes that are out there that are coming together. Small tribes, but still 400 enough that are out there. They're coming together to do this.
...the water supply and historical tribal sacred sites. They have been resisting for several months. Hundreds have been arrested, including several journalists who face decades in prison. Dallas Goldtooth posted this video to his Facebook feed.
Numerous helicopters flying overhead. You have National Guards members here on site. And you have law enforcement who are moving through using Humvees. There's armored vehicles up front. The armored vehicles have these sound cannons on top that emit this high, piercing, painful noise. And it's a part of them to control crowds. And so they were using those for for the first couple hours to push people back. It's so painful that we had to use, get earplugs, and still, even with the earplugs, it was extremely painful. So I came up here, stepped out of the action space so I can come and give an update, because I know a lot of people are watching across the world. If you can, contact the governor of North Dakota to just demand that he scale back on at least the transgressions of police officers in this space, to pull back the police force that's here. We're asking to contact the White House, President Obama. Folks may not know this, but the president has the executive power to stop this pipeline.
Does he, or is it in the hands of someone else? Someone else, maybe like I don't know, the Federal Reserve. You know, is it in the hands of the Pope, or even the Queen? Questions that we might want answers to, but we got bigger problems on our hands, because we still have to face the fact that we're next, right? The African American, the Mexican American are set to be removed. We're next. Unless that's their act that's going to provoke the Creator. Because remember in book of Jeremiah, he says, I'm going to take my people from the north country. I will take my people from the coastlines of the world, and I will set them back in their land, right? And he says, and no longer will we have to teach one another and say, know the Lord's name, but he'll write his laws, his statutes in our hearts forever.
Has everything in their power to stop this pipeline. The Army Corps of Engineers, even in the Omaha office, has them.
Anyways, I think you've seen enough. Anyways, I'm M.W. Smith, and I'm out.